rock. Okay, so like Sasha said, today we're going to be finishing up my two-part presentation on North African punk and DIY culture with a look at the Western Sahara conflict and protest music that has sprung up around it. So, a little historical background. Western Sahara was nominally a protectorate of Spain from the Scramble of Africa in 1884 until 1975. Indigenous Sahrawi people were subdued militarily by 1934. In 1970, a peaceful protest led by Sahrawis being fired on by the Spanish Legion with 11 deaths resulted in renewed military action. The leader of the protest, Mohammed Basiri, was executed in jail, and his supporters were either arrested or deported. This event would come to be known as the Zemla Intifada, and it would lead to the formation of the Polisario Front by young leftist activists who had studied in Moroccan universities. So Spain withdrew in 1975 after conflict with Polisario, which led to Moroccan occupation, which continues to this day. In November of 1975 was the Green March, in which 350,000 Moroccan settlers, accompanied by 20,000 soldiers, moved into Western Saharan territory. This move was accompanied by napalm and phosphorus bombings by the Moroccan army, which killed thousands of people. All of this being done with the tacit support of Spain, France, and the United States, who benefited from Western Sahara's economic exploitation of resources like their phosphate mines and their rich fisheries along the coast. In the 80s, the Moroccan government built a 2,700-kilometer wall in the sand known as the Berm, which to this day is guarded by a military force roughly equivalent to the entire Sahrawi population. 250,000 Sahrawi people were left stateless in the desert, relying on humanitarian aid. Roughly 40% of their population are still refugees, mostly in Algeria, the rest living under Moroccan occupation. Extensive mining since the 70s has made traditional nomadic life extremely dangerous, with desert winds shifting the placement of these mines and causing yearly accidents with people driving over mines or camels being blown up, things like that. The UN arranged a ceasefire in 1991 with the promise of an independence referendum, which to this day has not taken place. And conflict has heated up this past November, with Moroccan military being moved against protesters to a road being built into Polisario-controlled territory, and the ceasefire being considered officially broken. So some of the artists we're going to be talking about are Fatima Ibrahim, Mariam Hassan, El Wali, Martir El Wali, Group Due, and Haziza Ibrahim. Before we move on to some of the foundational groups in this style of music, I just want to touch on Group Due, their album being pictured on the far left of the screen. Their recordings are particularly raw, and I definitely recommend them to anyone who's a fan of raw rock and roll music in general. They have a collaboration album with a French band called Cheveux, and on that album, Cheveux plays a sped-up version of a Group Due song, Azawan, which sounds like something off of Raw Power. It's very, very sick. So the musical style known as El Nidal began around 1973 with the formation of the Polisario Front. Um, Sahara Matimba, The Sahara is Not for Sale, was composed in 1975 by Fatima Ibrahim. The lyrics were written during the bombings of the Moroccan army in 1975. Fatima's daughter, Muria, who was only 15 at that time, was in charge of the instrumentation, using a big water bottle as a drum. They sang and drummed to all the refugees that were traveling with them after the bombings in their travels towards Tindouf in Algeria, where they would seek refuge. Later, Muria would join a national band called El Wali and record protest music. As far as I could find, Fatima never was able to record any of her music, but it became so well known and being sung in refugee camps that it became a favorite song of a lot of Sahrawi people, including Polisario leaders.
Felix, you're not sharing your screen.
Oh. Wow, I'm really sorry.
No, it's all good.
Okay, wait, hold on. It says I can't share my screen, so this is going to take me a second. Oh. Okay, wow. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, well, I'm going to just go back a little bit then. Okay. Here we go again. So, yeah, essentially, Western Sahara, it was a colony or a protectorate of Spain from the late 1800s until 1975. They were exploited economically until in 1970, a massacre of peaceful protesters led to the formation of the Polisario Front by young leftist activists. This led to further conflict between the Spanish colonial government and Polisario. Spain withdrew in 1975, leading to Moroccan occupation and Moroccan settlement, and then Moroccan bombing until a ceasefire in 1991. So, yeah, we're going to talk about Fatima Ibrahim, Mariam Hassan, El Wali, Marti Abdul Wali, Group Due, and Aziz Ibrahim. So, El Nidal is essentially the name of the style of Sahrawi protest music, which started at the same time as the Polisario Front being formed. And we were just talking about this, so I'm just going to go into some of the lyrics of the song, which was very popular in Sahrawi refugee camps and with Polisario leaders. So this is Sahara Matimba, The Sahara is Not for Sale by Fatima Ibrahim. The Sahara, my brothers and sisters, is not for sale. The green of my land makes me proud as the beauty of its pastures in the eyes of the good shepherd. The phosphates you desire, they will cause you harm. Not even if they were for sale will you be able to buy them. I am a refugee. I have crossed on foot from Dakhla to Agnit Lekha. So, yeah, like I said, I could not find a studio recording of this, but it's a widely popular anthem to this day. Fatima Ibrahim passed away in a Sahrawi refugee camp in 2001 without having seen her homeland again. Today, her daughter, Maria, lives a double exile in Spain due to medical reasons and her desire to give her children a better future. Neither her nor her art has been forgotten, and Maria still participates actively in events in favor of the Sahrawi cause all around Spain, sometimes traveling to other European countries. So Martir Luali released the first Sahrawi LP in 1982 in Spain with the title Polisario Vencerá, which translates to Polisario Will Win. On this album it contains several references to Sahrawi history and struggle. Even the name of the group, Martir Luali, is a reference to the first leader of the Polisario, Mustafa Sayed El-Luali. And so Martir Luali roughly translates to the martyr Luali. So yeah, like I said, it contains a lot of references to Sahrawi history. There is one song on it called Born on the 20th of May, which is a reference to the Congo raid on the 20th of May in 1973, which was the first successful armed conflict between Polisario and the Spanish Legion. There is also a track called El Vali Ejemplo, the Vali example, which is another reference to Mustafa Sayed El-Luali. Another group in the 90s continued this tradition, El Wali, with their album Tiris, which was released by Badawi Archives, which, as far as I can find, is the first and only Sahrawi record label. So yeah, once again, they had songs like the 10th of May, when the Polisario Front was formally constituted in 1973, and again, the 20th of May, reference to the first armed Polisario action against Spanish colonial forces. There is a tradition of prominent female Sahrawi musicians and artists. We already talked about Fatma Brahim and how her poetry combined with her daughter Maria provided a basis for later Sahrawi music and for the group El Wali and Martir Luali. Maryam Hassan is one of the great voices of Western Sahara, and she was born to a nomadic family of goat herders, one of 10 children, 3 of whom were killed in fighting against Morocco. She was forced to marry an older man at the age of 13 and refused. She escaped during the wedding ceremony, and her brothers hid her until her parents returned the dowry and her wedding was canceled. As a teenager, she became involved in politics and began her singing career. In 1975, she sang at a Polisario meeting that was broken up by Spanish colonial police, and she escaped through a window. She became a nurse in 1977 and eventually joined El Wali as their lead singer, and later joined a group called Leowad. She began to record and release solo albums in the 2000s, including El Ayoun Egdat. El Ayoun is on fire, El Ayoun being the largest city in Western Sahara. She also released songs like L'intifada, The Struggle, and Lam Tamchu Ani, which was seen as a tribute to those killed in the war. She documented the Sahrawi struggle through music until she passed away in 2015 in a refugee camp from bone cancer. And a Spanish graphic novel was released in 2014 documenting her life. And so there's the cover of that and a little excerpt on the right of the screen for you to check out. I would also like to talk about Al-Khadra Mabruk and her granddaughter Aziza Brahim. So Al-Khadra was pretty much the most renowned poet to come out of Western Sahara since the 70s. She has lived in refugee camps since 1975, like many Sahrawi people. and has been documenting the struggle through poetry for her entire life, as well as advocating for women's rights. Her poetry provided the basis for the lyrics of Aziza Brahim. She was born also in a refugee camp in 1976 and was never able to meet her father because of the war. Aziza, with the inspiration from her grandmother, went on to be an internationally recognized touring musician until this day. And by Al-Hadra's own admission, Sahrawi women pretty much run everything in their society, every institution, every responsibility. When the men of their community go off to fight, they have to defend themselves and they have to take care of everything. When people come to a tent to speak to a family, they ask for the most prominent woman because, in Al-Hadra's words, the men are essentially unknown. So, I think, there's a lot of revolutionary potential to this music tradition. And just like, punk music in our own communities, it's made with minimal resources and, is an important resource for documenting struggle as it happens. Really, I just, with this presentation, I just wanted to give a short overview of music styles in North Africa. But I definitely encourage anyone interested to do some of their own research and to look into these things even further. If you're interested, I'm going to pop a playlist into the chat for anyone who missed it last time, as well as an Al Jazeera documentary about the poet Al-Hadra, which informed a bunch of this presentation and is very cool. I'll also be linking a podcast about the recent developments in the Western Sahara conflict, and a very cool short story by a Tuareg poet that has like anarcho-communist kind of metaphor in it. So, thanks for listening, and thanks for giving me this space to talk, Sasha. I really enjoyed it.
Yay, thank you so much. That was such a nice wrap up. All of the entire thing is amazing. As Martin said, maybe you should probably make a zine, though. You should do it. No pressure. I also, another no pressure, not putting anyone on the spot, but yes, Felix, please drop the link in the chat. I think also Meredith made a PDF of PDF or a playlist from her. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. It's all good. It's upcoming. Cool. So now the next presentation is June. And it's, I don't want to mess up the title. It's Counterintelligence Against Punk, 1979 to 2021. So give me a second and I'm going to open it up.